It's my guy knows a guy from Frenzy Sports, and I'm back with more picks and predictions on my NBA betting report. Yesterday, we won with the Charlotte Hornets +5 and the money line in the upset victory versus the San Antonio Spurs. I gave you guys some detailed analysis and correctly predicted that game. They activated Terry Rozier in that game, and they were able to get it done. He had an amazing game with Gordon Hayward. The Hornets still have a quality roster, and I think they're going to be able to compete in games in the second half of the season, even without LaMelo Ball. Let's not even waste any time. This has been a really profitable season for me to take moneyline underdogs on the side. It's done wonders for me, and I recommend, if you're following my picks, when it happens to be a moneyline spread, place another small bet on the side, on the money line, on the same team. This strategy could double your profits over time, and I've proven that this season. The first game I want to look at is, in my opinion, the best matchup of the night. The Phoenix Suns on the road against the Miami Heat. The Phoenix Suns are 2-point favorites on the road, and the total is 215.5. These are two teams that sit in different positions in their respective conference standings. The Phoenix Suns are comfortably in a top 2 position in the West, especially with the injury to LeBron James. And Miami has clawed their way back into the 4 seed in the East after a pretty bad stretch at the beginning of the season with COVID and injuries. Miami did a lot of work to get back to 500. They're sitting at 1 game above 500, but their performance has dipped as of late against Memphis and a 2-game series against the Indiana Pacers. The Phoenix Suns are 28-13, and they're coming off wins against the Minnesota Timberwolves and the LA Lakers. The Lakers, as we know, didn't have LeBron in that game. The Phoenix Suns were able to coast. This is a big increase in the level of competition for Phoenix, playing Miami on the road tonight. These are two teams going in different directions against the spread. The Phoenix Suns are the most profitable team in the NBA. They're 28-13 against the spread, covering at a rate of 68.3%. It's ridiculous. They're printing money, and they're a very difficult team to stand in front of. However, since the Heat have pretty much gotten the core of their roster back intact from the COVID outbreak that they suffered a couple months ago, they haven't lost more than 3 in a row against the spread. I think that's because of the veteran roster they have and how difficult it would be for this team to go on any sort of long losing stretch when the team is healthy. Now, we need to keep in mind that Goran Dragic has missed a couple of games, but he's been upgraded to questionable today, which significantly boosts his chances against his old team. Remember, he used to play for the Phoenix Suns. The small spread in this game has me leaning towards the Heat, and the fact that they haven't lost more than 3 in a row against the spread since they've had their roster returning. I'm leaning heavily towards the Miami Heat. And in the 2 matchups against the Indiana Pacers, I believe that the Pacers spread as an underdog was undervalued, because you can't really cap Pacers games accurately until Karis LeVert gets a couple of more games under his belt. So it was really difficult to favor Miami in those spots without Goran Dragic. I think the Phoenix Suns are more susceptible to losses in the second half of the season with the LeBron James injury, because a top 2 seed is pretty much close to being solidified for the Phoenix Suns. I think the Heat come out fired up tonight, and because the spread is pretty small, the money line is definitely worth a shot. Now I'm going to focus on another game that I had my eye on, the Brooklyn Nets on the road against the Portland Trail Blazers. Kyrie Irving is also out in this game, and the Blazers are continuing to reintegrate CJ McCollum into the lineup. The Blazers are coming off a 40-point home loss to the Dallas Mavericks. That game was absolutely disgusting. Their defense was in shambles. The Blazers just stunk it up that night. If it wasn't for that blowout loss to the Mavs, I'd be leaning towards the Nets money line in this game. But because of that, I'm focusing on the total. I think with the Blazers only scoring 92 points at home in a game that they expected to win against the Mavs, that they're going to emphasize pace in tonight's game. The Brooklyn Nets defense is playing a lot better as of late, but Portland's recent defensive struggles has me leaning towards the over in this game. One key stat in this game betting-wise is that the Brooklyn Nets are 15-5 going over this season on the road. That really bodes well for them in this game. When it comes to point totals and point spreads in the NBA, I'm usually a contrarian, but the Brooklyn Nets seem to defy all contrarian logic. They're a very, very trendy team, and they're a team that's pretty easy to read when it comes to point totals. I like the over 233.5 in this game. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to play it or not because of the next game that I'm going to talk about, which might be my play of the day. The New Orleans Pelicans are 6-point favorites against the LA Lakers, and the total is 221.5. The LA Lakers, when it comes to star talent, are the most injured team in the NBA right now. They're missing Anthony Davis and LeBron James for an extended period of time. The good news is that they were the 3 seed before the LeBron injury, but the bad news is that They are one of the most top-heavy teams in the NBA, and it's going to be really, really hard to maintain a top 4 seed, let alone a top 8 seed without LeBron James. However, tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans, this spread, to me, is too small. It's only 6 points. The Lakers have lost 2 games in a row against the spread. Their roster is terrible. The world is probably against them. But the fact that this is only a 6-point spread shows me that the Pelicans could potentially lose this game because of how bad their defense is and how inconsistent they are against the spread this season. In yesterday's video, even though the Kings won the game, I said the Kings are almost an auto-fade team after a win. The New Orleans Pelicans are also almost an auto-fade team after a win. They had a surprise victory against the Nuggets on Sunday. That game shocked a lot of people, but I'm not a believer in the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not a believer in the New Orleans Pelicans after a win, and I'm not a believer in the New Orleans Pelicans today. This pick is really similar to my Boston Celtics pick on Sunday against the Orlando Magic, which surprised a lot of people. That game was more of a fade of the Magic than it was of a pick of the Celtics. I like the Lakers today +6 and possibly the money line in this game against the Pelicans. It's more of a fade of the Pelicans. There are a lot of players that are desperate to improve their value to the Lakers organization to prove that they should stick around for another championship run when LeBron and Anthony Davis return from their injuries. I think that pressure is going to cause a lot of players like Kyle Kuzma and Dennis Schroeder to step their game up. One key betting factor in this game is that the last 9 times the Pelicans were favored on the point spread, they lost 6 of those games straight up. With that in mind, I'm going to pick the Los Angeles Lakers +6 and sprinkle the money line tonight. So that gives me 3 picks for tonight: the Miami Heat +2, the Nets Blazers over 233.5, and the Lakers +6. The Lakers +6 will be my top play. I'll be posting that on Twitter. If you guys enjoyed my NBA betting report, subscribe to the Frenzy Sports YouTube channel and hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter at Myguyknowsaguy. Thank you so much for watching.